Today we're going to be making hokey pokey. This is my dog Roxy. She was desperate for a cuddle, so I had to pick her up because she's just too adorable. Well, you're going to have some food now. Good girl. Now, of course, I need to wash my hands. Today, as I said, we're going to be making hokey pokey. It's a New Zealand recipe. That's from the Esmond's cookbook. That's New Zealand. So, you're going to need a saucepan like this. A tray like this, which I'll tell you why later. We're going to need to line the tray with some non-stick baking paper. This part's quite loud. Make sure there's no showing bits of metal. If there's showing bits of metal, then just cover them up with more because we don't want you to get any mess on your metal. Now that's done. Boring part done and the fun bit ends. So you're going to need a saucepan about this size. Going to need golden syrup, yum yum. Sugar, you can use any sugar, but I use plain white sugar because it just tastes the best and doesn't give any extra flavour that you don't want. And bicarbonate of soda. Baking soda and bicarbonate of soda are the same thing, so you can also use that. For the extras, I just like to include these parts. 1 tablespoon measurer, 1 teaspoon measurer. To start off with, you're going to need 5 tablespoons of sugar. So your tablespoon measurer, make sure it's from tablespoon because we don't want it going wrong. Now just level it out. It doesn't matter if it's a little bit over for this recipe, but it makes sure that you do it correct. So 5 tablespoons, I've done 1, and this is my second. Third, 4th, and finally, need a bit more, 5th. Always do the sugar first in this recipe because golden syrup will not go well first. Now you need 2 tablespoons of golden syrup. Make sure it's nice and yummy golden syrup. We use Lyle's golden syrup, so Abram and Lyle and Sons always do a bit more for the second one because not always all the golden syrup comes out. Doesn't want to come out. As I said, it might happen, so that's why we always do the sugar first. This one has got to be one of my favourite recipes. You can lick it now. Now, you put them on a relatively low temperature, but high enough for it to cook. Maybe I'll use this one. Turn it on to about 3, maybe 2. And just let it boil. Well, let the sugar dissolve and golden syrup liquefy. You have to make sure the golden syrup's liquefied first, because otherwise the sugar will not dissolve. Now I'm going to just let it cook. I'll come back for the go. It should look a bit like this after a minute or two. So not yet the sugar has dissolved, but the golden syrup have liquefied. It's more like a little bit syrupy water instead of, what's it a bit like before? Very thick syrup. So it's a bit like syrupy water, not thick syrup anymore. So I quite like this part because it's very fun to make. But the fun hasn't come in yet. You've got to see what the bicarbonate of soda or baking soda looks like at the end. It's so cool. Now the sugar's just about dissolved, so we can bring it to a boil. It's already boiling a little bit, but that's because it's getting quite hot. With this kind of recipe, you need to make sure you don't touch it, because water will evaporate once it gets too hot, but this can go as hot as molten lava, so and you don't know how sore it is when you burn yourself. You just have to, if you do, whilst you're doing it, get it straight into warm water. I mean, cool water. Why would warm water fix it? So it's boiling now, boiling nicely. And I'm just going to get ready for the super doopity 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 fun part. You're going to need, well, I suggest you put one of these on before, because you don't want it to be a bit, you don't want it to melt. That's bubbling so much now, so I think I'm going to turn it off. And I'll just let the bubbles calm down, because I don't want to very carefully carry it over. Heat it will be. I can feel the heat from here. Calm down. So that's bubbly now. Now we need to relatively quickly get this in. So 1 teaspoon, as it says here, hokey pokey, 1 teaspoon, it doesn't have to be evidence though, of baking powder. Not baking powder, baking soda or bicarbonate of soda. Now, watch this. It's already hardening, so you've got to be very quick. Before you do anything, get a bit laid out. Look how good that looks. Yum, yum. Now it's cooling down, and as you can see, I've given it a bit of a smooth over. Do not do this too much, because otherwise it loses all its bubbles. And the bubbles were the brilliant part, so what a shame would that be? Okay, I'm going to see you once it's hardened. It won't take long, because it's amazing. So, see you then. So, not very long after it's cooled and hardened, now I'm going to give it a little snip. Snipping, even though it's not flimsy, it's a great way to break it because it just breaks it really well. So great to put into ice cream. As you know, it's from New Zealand, so it's hokey pokey from New Zealand. It's actually traditional to go in ice cream. So I have a little nibble, so I can actually. Now a little bit of ice cream. Mwah. So that was deliciosa, and I really want to eat more, but I want my camera crew, Sophie, to try some. Oh, good. Oh yeah, that's really nice. Oh. So, the main top tip on this is to make sure you don't push it down too much, because otherwise it won't be bubbly. Because as you can see, there's nice bubbles in there, like bees' honeycomb. Sorry. I had to eat that. Here, you can have a little bit too. Sophie just took it from me. Okay, that's all to next week. Bye! Thank you, please subscribe.